Hi everyone, I'm Martha Elliott, author of Singing in Style, and I'm so happy that you're using my book for your class. I want to say a special hello to Monica, who emailed me and asked me to send this video to you, and also a special thank you to your professor, Dr. Alberto Pacheco, I hope I said that right, for designing a class around the book. I'm coming to you from my home in Skillman, New Jersey. It's raining outside, so you might hear the rain on my skylights. You may know that I teach at Princeton University, and we're having a completely virtual semester right now. So this is where my students see me when they come for their voice lessons. Monica asked me to say a little bit about my inspiration for writing Singing in Style. So, as I explained in the acknowledgments, a colleague introduced me to someone at Yale University Press, and they invited me to work on this project. I was incredibly fortunate that I wasn't under any pressure to finish the book in order to keep my job or to get tenure. So I had the luxury to work on the book for an extended period of time, and I really loved every minute of it. I think in a larger sense, the book is really about how composers and singers interact and how performers interact with musical scores. When I was a music student in the 1980s, a general attitude was instilled in me that it was my job as a performer to execute what I saw on the musical page as faithfully and completely as possible. We as musicians just accepted that what we saw on the page was exactly what the composer wanted and exactly what we should sing. As I started to perform more new music and work directly with composers on premieres of new works, I had the experience of the composer asking me how I wanted to perform a particular passage. And often the composer would change things to suit my needs and preferences. So I learned that what was on the page was actually a fluid and flexible thing depending on the situation. As I learned more about historical performance practice, traditions of the 17th and 18th centuries, of course it became clear that what composers put on the page at that time was not a complete set of performing instructions at all, and they expected the performers to make all sorts of decisions about a lot of issues, from tempo to phrasing to ornamentation, and to add a lot of their own input to the performance. I was actually really surprised to learn that it was the composers at the beginning of the 20th century, Schoenberg, Berg, Webern, who started to add many more performance instructions to their music and to insist that performers only do what was in the score. And it was also interesting to learn that the French composers, Ravel in particular, and Debussy, were coming around to these same ideas, sort of independently, but at the same time. So that was where the ideas that I learned as a student really came from. And these ideas were not actually applicable to all periods of music across the board. Another thing that I really love about Singing in Style is that it gives a broad overview of where certain style traditions come from. So, for example, some of my students are currently working on the opera La Callisto by the 17th century composer Cavalli. And as I help them come up with ornamentation and phrasing and style issues, I have to remind them not to use trills and cadenzas that they might know from Mozart or Rossini, or gestures that are appropriate for Handel. As I teach them the trillos and cadential flourishes that singers added in this earlier 17th century style, they are learning where those more familiar later gestures really came from. And speaking of early music style, my second book came out last year, So You Want to Sing Early Music. This is part of a series of So You Want to Sing, lots of different styles, and the books are put out by the National Association of Teachers of Singing organization. That's a national organization in the U.S., but it's also internationally known. And they asked me to contribute the early music volume. This book has a lot of the same information that's in the first 2 chapters of Singing in Style, but I was able to expand on that material and also include a wonderful companion website, which has audio and video examples, scores, musical examples, and links to lots of other resources. One of the things that this book deals with, that I was able to add to this book, which Singing in Style doesn't really deal with, is choosing and evaluating online scores. At this point, when I ask one of my students to bring in a song by Purcell or Schubert, they automatically search online. But the problem with doing that is that you have no idea what kind of a score you're going to get from the search. And while there are a lot of fantastic resources available online now, a lot of the online sources, particularly the free ones, are actually terrible scores with lots of mistakes. Even if you get a score from IMSLP, that's the International Music Score Library Project, and I hope you all know about that and use it, you have to look carefully to tell where and when the score is from and if it really is the source that you want. This is the next interesting phase in how performers interact with musical scores. So I hope you'll check out So You Want to Sing Early Music. It's published by Rowman and Littlefield. It's available on Amazon, and you can find the companion website through the NATS, National Association of Teachers of Singing website, and also through my website. So I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. I wish you all the best with your class and your future research and performing. Bye.